Okay, now I'm going to explain the mixed conditional. For mixed conditional, we combine two patterns, the second and the third. It usually deals with cause and effect. Look at the example. This is what happens. I slept late at night, so I'm sleepy now. Have a look. This is the cause and this is the effect. When you put it into if conditional, you have to check the time. I slept late at night. It happened in the past. Because of that, we use the third conditional. Because it happened in the past. While this one is the result, or the effect. Because it happens now, we use the second conditional. As you can see above, the second conditional is called the present conditional because it happens now, while the third conditional is called the past conditional as it happened in the past. So we combine the two patterns, guys. This one is the third conditional. We use if plus past perfect. This one is the main clause. For the main clause, we use the second conditional, would or could, bare infinitive, verb 1. The result becomes if I, past perfect, had not slept late at night, I would not be sleepy now. Third conditional, past perfect. Second conditional, would and bare infinitive. This is the mixed conditional. It usually deals with cause and effect. Any question? None? Okay. Now I will continue to the inversion. Okay, this one is called inversion. Inversion is an alternative to if, another way to create a conditional. We can also say it as without if. It's basically a conditional, but we don't use the conjunction if. Yeah, we use another pattern. Let's start from the first conditional. For the first conditional, guys, the pattern is if present simple plus future simple or modal. Here we change the if clause, but we keep the main clause. The pattern you have to use is should, subject, verb 1, bare infinitive, comma, main clause. Look at the color, guys, the if clause is turned into this one. The main clause remains blue. Subject will. That infinitive. Now look at the example on the left. If I have time later, I will call you. Let's change the sentence using inversion. The result becomes should, the subject is I, that infinitive have, time, comma, copy. What is the main clause? I will call you. Copy that one. This one remains the same. Yeah, it doesn't change at all. Just copy. But the if clause, if I have time, becomes this. This is the inversion or without if of the first conditional. Any question? None. Okay, let me continue. The inversion of the second conditional. There are two patterns, guys. This is the first. The first is were, subject, blank, whatever it is, and then main clause. The if clause becomes this, the main clause is copied. Look at the example. If I were Jokowi, I would build blah blah blah. Okay, let's use the pattern. The result becomes were, subject, I. Now, right after this is what's after were? Jokowi, right? Copy. Check this one. What is after were? It's Jokowi, so you put Jokowi in the blank. Main clause is copied. I would build blah blah blah. This one is copied. You guys use this pattern if the verb is were. This is the result. What if the verb is not were? You use the second pattern. What is the second pattern? Were, subject, to infinitive, comma, main clause. Copy the main clause. An example. I give you the conditional sentence first. If I had a Lamborghini, I would drive it to school, for example. Take a look at the verb. If I had, what is the verb? Is it were? No, the verb is not were. It's had. That's why you use the pattern above. This one. The result becomes were, subject, I, to infinitive, to have. Yeah, the verb is had and it becomes to have. A Lamborghini, copy, I would drive. This is the main clause, we copy. Any question, guys? Hopefully you understand the difference now. Yeah, the verb is not were, use the second pattern. If the verb is were, use the first pattern. Any question? Okay, now inversion of the third conditional. The pattern is had, subject, past participle. It seems like you put it into an interrogative form, yeah, but it's not interrogative. And the main clause. Now look at the example on the left. If I had gone to sleep faster, the result becomes had subject I, past participle gone, continue, to sleep faster, comma, main clause, I would have woken up, copy. The main clause is copied. The if clause is turned into this pattern, had subject past participle. Okay, this is inversion. Any question? None. Okay, then I'll continue. I will give you some other alternatives to it. The next one is as long as, on condition that, providing that, and provided that. All of them mean the same. Yeah, they can be used to replace the conjunction if. Look at the example, guys. If I have time later, I will call you. I will phone you. Okay. Remember, this is the if clause. This is the main clause. Oops. Main clause is blue, yeah. Remember, guys, what you change is the if clause, yeah. The main clause remains the same. So, I want you to use long. It becomes as long as. You delete this one and you change it into as long as. Copy everything. As long as I have time later, I will call you. Very easy. What you do is to change if into as long as. What if I want you to use condition? It means you have to use on condition that. So the result becomes on condition that, copy. What if I want you to use providing that? Change the if word into providing that or provided that. Copy everything. Very simple, right? Any question? None? Okay, the next group is we can use imagine, say, suppose, supposing. We can use them as an alternative to if. Okay, look at an example. If you win a lottery, what will you do with the money? Let's say I want you to use imagine. What do you have to do? Simple. It's the same as the pattern above. The if conjunction is deleted and you use imagine. What about the sentence? The rest of the sentence is copied and you paste it here. That's it. That's the result. What if I want you to use supposing? Change it into supposing. Yeah, just delete the conjunction if and you change it into say, suppose, or supposing. Copy the rest. Very easy. Any question? None? Okay, let me continue. If I want you to use in case of or in the event of, you have to modify the sentence, yeah, the if clause, because in case of and in the event of are followed by a noun or gerund. But the main clause is copied. Yeah, remember that it has to be followed by a noun or gerund. Okay, look at an example, guys. If there is an accident, call me. Okay, this is the main clause. This is the if clause. Nah, lucky you guys, the noun has been given an accident. So what you have to do is to change if into in case of plus the noun, an accident. The main clause is copied. Call me. Yeah, you don't change anything with the main clause. But you modify the sentence into in case of plus noun, an accident. This is in case of. Any question? But guys, if you use in case, what you do is you delete the conjunction if and you change it into if. Sorry, in case of. Yeah, you copy the rest. So the result becomes, if there is an accident, call me, and I want you to use in case, the result becomes in case, copy the rest. There is an accident, call me. That's it. That's the result. This is the same. This is also the same. Yeah, you only delete if and you change it into in case. Which one is easier? Of course, the one on the right. Yeah, because on the left, you have to modify the sentence. Any question? None? Okay, let me continue then. The next one is but for. But for is the same as in case of, because it has to be followed by a noun or gerund. You have to modify the if clause. What about the main clause? Copy. Okay, but for itself means if it weren't for, or if it hadn't been for. That's the meaning. Now look at an example. If it hadn't rained, I would have arrived on time. This is the if clause. This is the main clause. Remember guys, the main clause is copied, yeah? The material is called alternatives to if. That's why what we modify is always the if clause, not the main clause. Okay? Now let's change the sentence using but for. The result becomes but for plus noun. Okay, here the verb rain is changed into a noun, but for the rain. This is the noun. This is the conjunction. But for the rain, comma, copy. Yeah, the main clause is copied. That's it. That's but for. Any question? None? Okay, I'll continue. This one is another alternative to if. Yeah, we change if. We change the conjunction if into whether or not, or whether blah 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 or not. Look at the example. Although it rains, tonight, I will still go to the cinema. This is the main clause. Sorry, that's the if clause, that's the main clause. Remember, copy the main clause. Yeah, what we modify is this one. The result becomes whether or not, copy the rest. It rains tonight. The main clause is copied. That's the result. Whether or not it rains tonight, I will still go to the cinema. The next answer is whether it rains tonight or not. We put or not at the end of the clause, but the sentence is still the same, yeah? We don't change anything. We just put or not at the end of the clause. The main clause is again copied. That's it. That's whether or not. Any question? None? Okay. Now I'm going to explain another alternative to if. This one is called unless. Unless is actually if clause in negative. Remember, the if conditional should be negative. Otherwise, you cannot use unless, because unless itself is negative. So when you turn it into unless, guys, let's say the if clause is already negative. So when you use unless, it is followed by an affirmative sentence, because unless is negative. Okay. Now look at the example. If you don't do your homework, you will be punished. Remember, the main clause is copied. The if clause is modified. Yeah, we change the if clause into unless. Have a look. The sentence of the if clause is negative, right? So when you put it into unless, you turn it into affirmative. The result becomes unless you do your homework. It becomes affirmative. Why? Because unless is already negative. What about the main clause? Copy. You will be punished. Let me give you another example. If he didn't arrive on time, he would be fired. Okay, this is the if clause, this is the main clause. Check the if clause, it is the second conditional, and it's negative. When you put it into unless, remember unless is negative, you turn the sentence into affirmative. So it becomes unless he, this is past tense, you have to use the second form of the verb. Unless he arrived on time, the main clause remains the same. We turn it into affirmative. That's what we have to do with unless. Any question, guys? But be careful, guys, be careful. Yeah, this is an exception. You can put the sentence into unless even though the sentence is affirmative, but only in the first conditional. Only in the first conditional. In the second and the third conditional, you cannot do so. If the sentence is affirmative, you cannot put them into unless. But if it's the first conditional, if the conditional is affirmative, you can still change it to unless. Why? Because the first conditional refers to the future, and the chance for it to happen is 50-50. That's why it's possible. Okay, an example. If you are late, I will be angry. if clause, main clause. Have a look. It's affirmative, right? Can you change it into unless? Yes, you can, because this is the first conditional. We change it into unless, guys. It becomes unless you are late. The sentence doesn't change, yeah? It remains the same, but the sentence changes from positive into negative, because unless is negative. Look at the main clause. The main clause also changes, guys. I will not be angry. Why does it change? Because the if clause also changes. Look at the if clause. It changes from positive to negative, right? That's why the main clause also changes from positive into negative. Because it changes. That's why this also changes. This only occurs to the first conditional. The second and the third cannot be changed into unless if the if clause is affirmative. Any question? If you are late, I will be angry. Unless you are late, it means if you are not late. That's the meaning, right? The meaning becomes negative. If you are not late, I will not be angry. That's it. Any question? None? Okay. Now I will continue to the next one. Wait, this one, the last one requires this. I need the if conditional. Okay, but guys, this one is called otherwise. Yeah, this is also an alternative to if. Okay. I'd like to start from the first conditional. To change it into otherwise, you need this pattern: subject, must, bare infinitive, otherwise, main clause. Main clause is blue, yeah? Okay, now you change the if clause into this pattern. Be careful for the first conditional. If you turn it into otherwise, guys, you need to look at the meaning. You really need to look at the meaning. Look at the sample sentence above. If I have time later, I will call you. You have to use this pattern. The result becomes, if I have time, I will call you. The result becomes, I must have time. If you change it into I mustn't have time, the sentence is awkward, guys. Look at the meaning. Yeah, I must have time. Otherwise, the main clause changes, guys. I will not call you. Be careful with this one. The main clause is not copied, guys, but you modify it into negative because you need it for the meaning to be possible. Yeah, I must have time, otherwise I will not call you. If you still copy the main clause into affirmative, then you are wrong. Okay, you need to check the meaning for the first conditional. Be careful with this one, first conditional. Okay, now let's continue. The second conditional. The pattern for otherwise is fact, otherwise, main clause. That is the pattern. Okay, look at the example above, guys. If I were Jokowi, I would build a solar panel factory here in Indonesia. The fact is, I'm not Jokowi, so I don't build any solar factory here. Okay, remember guys, the main clause is the blue one, and that one is copied. What you have to do is you change the if clause into fact, and the fact of the if clause is I am not Jokowi. That's the fact of the if clause. Yeah, if I were Jokowi, the fact is I'm not Jokowi. This is the fact. And then continue the pattern. Otherwise, copy the main clause. I would build a solar factory here. That's the main clause. Copy. That's it. This is otherwise. Done. So it's a mixture of fact and also the main clause of the if conditional. That's it. Any question, guys? None? Okay, I'll continue to the third conditional. Yeah, let's turn the third conditional into otherwise. What you have to do is the same as the second conditional, guys. This is the pattern. Fact, otherwise, main clause. What is the fact? Look at the example. If I had gone to sleep faster, the fact is I didn't go to sleep faster. Remember, what you have to turn is the if clause. Yeah, turn it into a fact. Let's take it. I didn't go to sleep faster. This is the fact. Let's continue the pattern. Otherwise, main clause. What is the main clause? Look at the if clause. You've got the main clause there. I would have woken up earlier. The main clause is copied. This is the conjunction, otherwise. That is all. You've got all the alternatives to if. Any question? None? Okay. Your homework is on page 80, part 5. I repeat, your homework is on page 80, part 5, plus on page 129, part 1 until 3. Yeah, there are 4 parts that you have to do. Practice makes perfect. You need to practice, otherwise you won't be able to do the test later. The test won't be given to you today, but I'm going to give it next meeting. Next meeting, I'm going to discuss the homework first, and then in the evening at 3 until 6, I will give you the test. Yeah, on if conditional, plus unit 7.1, the Lion King. I haven't given you the test on that one, right? So guys, next meeting, next week, there will be 2 tests. Unit 7.1, the Lion King, and also unit 7.3, if conditional. Alternative to if. But during the lesson, I will just be discussing on your homework. So there will be no test today, but next week. Okay?